The chandelier above the Hale family ballroom shimmered like 1,000 eyes watching from the ceiling. Glasses clinked. Laughter rippled through the air thick with champagne and arrogance. Lily Carter stood near the edge of the long dining table, her hands trembling slightly as she held a silver tray of champagne flutes. She wasn't a servant, she was Cole Hale's wife. But in this house, being the wife of a Hale meant serving, not belonging. Margaret Hale, the matriarch, stood at the center of the room like a queen in exile. Her pearls gleamed under the light, her lips stretched into a smile too thin to be kind. "Everyone a toast," she announced. "To family, true family." The word true sliced through the air like glass. Lily felt her chest tighten. She'd spent all morning trying to look proper for Victor Hale's 60th birthday gala. She had chosen a modest beige dress, the same one she wore at her hospital charity dinner, and the soft Tiffany necklace her mother-in-law had once gifted her, back when she pretended to care. But now, under the marble gaze of the Hales, Lily felt naked even before it happened. Cole stood across the room, eyes glued to his iPhone, pretending to text. He hadn't spoken to her since last night, since she told him she was pregnant. 10 weeks. His reaction had been silence, followed by a cold, "You picked the worst time." "Lily," Margaret called sweetly, mouth, her tone sugar wrapped around poison. "Come here, dear." Lily froze. The chatter dulled. The sound of soft piano from the corner drifted into silence. All eyes turned toward her. She walked carefully across the marble floor, her heels echoing like tiny cracks in the still air. Margaret looked her up and down, her expression turning sharp. "You're wearing that necklace I gave you." "Yes, ma'am," Lily said quietly. "You said it was a family piece." Margaret smiled, a smile that meant war. "Oh, honey, it was. But after what you've done to this family, keeping secrets, spreading gossip, embarrassing Cole, well, I think you should return it. You're no longer part of this family's circle." The guests murmured. Someone's phone camera flicked on. Cole's cousin whispered something that made his wife giggle behind her glass of champagne. I haven't done anything," Lily whispered. Her hand flew to her necklace, as if to protect the last piece of dignity she had left. "Don't make this harder," Margaret said, stepping closer. "You came into this house with nothing, and now you dare to bring shame?" She reached out, fingers grazing the Tiffany chain. "Give it back." Lily shook her head slightly. "Please, not here." "Then maybe you'll understand this better," Margaret hissed, pulling the necklace until the clasp snapped. The sound echoed through the ballroom. Gasps followed. Someone laughed softly, cruelly. Cole didn't move, didn't speak, didn't even look at her. Margaret wasn't finished. "And that coat, take it off. Everything you wear was bought with this family's name. You don't deserve it." Lily's breath hitched, her vision blurred, but she saw the truth in their faces. There was no mercy here. With shaking hands, she unbuttoned the soft cashmere coat, the one Cole had given her their first winter together. She folded it neatly and placed it on the table. Margaret leaned in close, voice like ice. "Now walk out. You're finished, Lily Carter. Don't come back." Lily looked around once more, at Cole's indifferent face, at the phone cameras raised like guns, at the cruel delight in every glance. She swallowed hard. Then she straightened her spine, picked up her purse, and walked out through the golden doors of the Hale estate. Outside, snow was falling. Her breath fogged in the cold air. Her phone buzzed, a reminder for her night shift at New York Presbyterian. Life didn't pause for heartbreak. She looked up at the Manhattan skyline in the distance, lights shimmering like silent witnesses. She whispered to herself, "You stripped my pride tonight, Margaret, but not my soul." And that's when a black Mercedes S-Class stopped at the gate, its tinted window rolling down, revealing a man she hadn't seen in years. The Brooklyn apartment was quiet, except for the soft hum of the refrigerator and the drip of a leaky faucet. Lily Carter stood by the window, wrapped in a thin blanket that barely reached her knees. Snowflakes drifted against the glass, melting into little rivers that crawled down like the tears she refused to shed. Outside, the Manhattan skyline glowed in the distance, so close, yet cruelly untouchable. She placed her phone face down on the counter. There were 15 missed calls from unknown numbers, and one text from Cole. "Stay at Mom's. Don't embarrass us more." She deleted it without reading twice. On the kitchen table sat a white envelope from New York Presbyterian Hospital. It had arrived that morning, just before she left for the Hale estate, but she hadn't opened it. Her hands shook as she slid a finger under the flap. Inside was a printed letter. Notice of behavioral review. Someone, she didn't need to guess who, had filed a complaint claiming she'd been emotionally unstable and unprofessional during a shift. Margaret. It had to be her. Lily sank into the chair, the letter trembling in her hands. A behavioral review meant suspension if things went wrong. No job meant no insurance, no prenatal care, no apartment. Everything she had built, piece by piece, was slipping. Her phone buzzed again. A new message from an unknown number. Unknown. We need to talk. It's about your reputation. She hesitated, thinking it was another cruel message from a fake account. But the name that followed made her freeze. Elias Prescott. The Prescotts, 3 billionaire brothers who ruled different parts of New York's financial world. Their family's name carried weight that could open or close any door in the city. She hadn't heard from any of them since her mother's funeral, 3 years ago. Her mother, a night nurse, had once saved their father's life after a crash on the FDR Drive. The brothers had never forgotten. The text continued. Meet me tomorrow, 9 a.m., River Cafe, Brooklyn Bridge Park. Come alone. Lily read it 3 times before locking her phone. She looked around the tiny apartment, 2 rooms, peeling paint, second-hand furniture bought off Craigslist. The heater rattled like it was on its last breath. On the counter, an unopened Amazon box sat waiting. She had ordered prenatal vitamins, a baby journal, and a copy of Atomic Habits, a book her nurse colleague said helps when life falls apart. She tore the tape open, took out the small bottle of vitamins, and stared at the label. She'd promised herself she would protect the life growing inside her. That baby was her anchor, the only reason she kept standing after being humiliated in front of 50 people. Her phone rang again. This time, it was her aunt from Ohio. Lily, honey, come home. Her aunt's voice pleaded. We'll take care of you here. That family's poison. You don't owe them anything. Lily looked out at the skyline again, the Empire State Building gleaming faintly in the distance. I can't, Aunt May. Not yet, she whispered. If I leave now, they win. Her aunt sighed. You sound like your mama, too brave for your own good. When the call ended, the apartment felt even smaller. She turned off the lights and crawled into bed, pulling the blanket over her stomach. The city outside was alive, sirens wailing, wind howling through alleys. But inside, silence pressed heavy against her chest. In the dark, she whispered to her unborn child, They took everything from me today, baby, but I still have you. And I swear, no one will ever touch you with their cruelty. She pressed her palm to her belly, feeling the faint rhythm beneath her skin. The hum of the refrigerator, the ticking clock, the beating of 2 hearts, one wounded, one new, filled the room. Then her phone buzzed one last time. A message flashed across the cracked iPhone screen. Elias Prescott, I know what the Hales did. Don't lose hope. Lily's eyes widened. She sat up in bed, the glow of the phone lighting her face. Outside, snow was still falling, but this time it didn't feel cold. Because somewhere out there, someone powerful had just decided she wasn't alone anymore. The next morning, the city was still half asleep under a blanket of gray. Steam rose from the grates on the sidewalks as people hurried past, collars turned up, eyes on their phones. Lily Carter stood outside the River Cafe beneath the Brooklyn Bridge, clutching her worn leather purse. Her breath fogged the air. She almost turned back twice. The River Cafe wasn't just a restaurant. It was where the elite whispered over wine and decided the fate of empires. Its windows looked out over the East River, the Manhattan skyline shining faintly in the distance. She felt wildly out of place. Her coat was thrifted, her shoes scuffed, and the last time she'd eaten here was never. Inside, the scent of roasted coffee and polished wood greeted her. A man rose from a corner table as soon as she entered. He was tall, in a charcoal suit that fit like it was cut from silence itself. His presence didn't shout wealth, it whispered control. Lily Carter, he said, extending a hand. Elias Prescott. His handshake was firm, brief, professional. No warmth, but no judgment either. His eyes, a deep steel gray, studied her like a file he had already read twice. Thank you for coming, he said, motioning for her to sit. I know this isn't easy. Lily hesitated before sitting across from him. You said you know what the Hales did. Why do you care? He poured her coffee without asking how she took it. Because it was illegal, he said simply. And because your mother once saved my father's life, he told us never to forget her name. The mention of her mother sent a lump to her throat. You didn't have to call me, she said softly. I did, Elias replied, sliding a thin folder across the table. That's your hospital's disciplinary notice. Someone filed 3 separate complaints against you, each under different names, but all traced to Hale Holdings' IP address. Lily blinked. They're trying to ruin my career. He nodded once. Not trying, doing. But there's more. He flipped open another document. Your husband's family is laundering money through one of their charity foundations. We've been watching Victor Hale's movements for months. Your humiliation last night wasn't just cruelty. It was strategy. They're cleaning house before an audit. Lily's heart pounded. You're saying they used me as a distraction? Yes, Elias said quietly. They stripped you of dignity to shift attention from what they were hiding. And it worked, for now. She gripped the coffee cup, her hands trembling. What do you want from me? I want you to stay calm, he said, leaning back slightly. You're a witness now, not a victim. That means they'll come after you harder, but I can protect you. Legally, not emotionally. The latter is your job. His bluntness almost made her laugh. You sound like a machine. He smiled faintly. Machines don't care about justice. I do, in my own way. She looked out the window at the river glinting under the morning light. I'm just a nurse. I don't belong in any of this. Wrong, Elias said, his voice low but steady. You belong wherever someone tries to take away your dignity. That's where you fight. Something in his tone made her believe him. For the first time since that terrible night, her lungs filled fully. Elias stood, adjusting his cufflinks. My brothers will contact you soon. Graham handles business operations. Noah, he's the one with the tech empire, will help clean your digital trail. For now, lay low. And Lily. She looked up. He placed a sleek Mont Blanc pen beside her cup. Keep this. It's not charity. It's a reminder. When you sign your next chapter, do it in ink, not tears. He left before she could reply, the scent of cedar cologne lingering behind him. Lily sat there for a long moment, staring at the pen gleaming under the morning light. The hum of the cafe returned, waiters moving, cups clinking. But inside her chest, something small and steady began to burn again, something that looked dangerously like hope. And when she stepped outside, a black car was waiting by the curb, with the driver holding an envelope that had her name written in silver ink. At the Hale mansion in Long Island, morning sunlight spilled through the glass atrium, glinting off marble floors and untouched breakfast plates. The air smelled of tension and espresso. Victor Hale sat at the head of the table, flipping through financial statements on his iPad with the impatience of a man used to control. His wife, Margaret, watched him carefully from behind her porcelain teacup, her pearl earrings catching the light. Cole Hale walked in late, his tie loose, his hair disheveled. Traffic, he muttered, grabbing a croissant. Traffic. Margaret repeated, voice sharp as glass. Or was it Sloan again? Cole froze mid-bite. Mom, please. Victor didn't look up. She's a liability, he said flatly. And so is that wife of yours. The internet's having a field day. You should have kept her quiet. Cole clenched his jaw. You told me to make her sign the NDA. She refused. What else do you want? Victor's eyes finally lifted. Results. Before the auditors start asking about Hale Foundation. Margaret reached for a folder beside her plate, opening it like a magician revealing her next trick. We'll get them off our trail. Sloan's arranged a PR piece, a few fake leaks about Lily's mental breakdown, a photo or two, and suddenly the victim looks unstable. People love a scandal, not a saint. Cole's stomach twisted. You're talking about my wife. Ex-wife, Margaret corrected. She walked out, remember? He said nothing. The silence that followed was heavier than any argument. Across town, in a sleek office on Park Avenue, Elias Prescott was reading an encrypted email from a confidential source. The subject line, Hale Foundation, Internal Transaction Summary. Attached were spreadsheets filled with suspicious entries, funds marked as community wellness programs funneled into offshore accounts. One of the digital signatures read C. Hale. Elias's jaw tightened. He dialed Noah. Noah picked up instantly. Tell me you're not looking at what I think you're looking at. I am, Elias replied. They're using charity fronts, and Cole's name is on 3 of the accounts. Noah's voice dropped. You realize if we expose this, the Hales will drag Lily down with them. They'll say she knew. I'll make sure they can't, Elias said. But I'll need her cooperation. She's the only one who can confirm which foundation events she attended, who she saw, what she overheard. Then we'll protect her, Noah said, even if she doesn't trust us yet. Elias leaned back in his chair, eyes on the skyline outside his window. Trust isn't required. Truth is. Meanwhile at the mansion, Margaret's phone buzzed. A new email notification flashed across her iPhone screen. Confidential. Financial irregularities. Audit pending. Her face drained of color. Victor, she whispered. The auditors moved up the date. He slammed his fist on the table. Who the hell leaked it? No one answered. But somewhere in the chaos of the household staff, an intern, one of Tori's social media assistants, was quietly forwarding another copy of the email to a private address registered under E. Prescott law. That evening, Cole sat in his car in the driveway staring at his reflection in the windshield. He looked older, smaller, hollow. His phone buzzed with a message from Sloan. Dinner at the Peninsula? We need to talk. He didn't reply. He just stared at the mansion glowing behind him, every window hiding another secret. Across the city, Lily sat in her apartment, unaware that her name was already appearing in the first line of a corporate scandal. She closed her laptop after finishing her shift report, unaware that the storm gathering around her was bigger than humiliation. It was a war of reputation and money. And in his Park Avenue office, Elias Prescott's screen flickered as another encrypted file arrived. He clicked it open and saw a single line typed in bold. You can't save her. We own the system. Elias stared at the screen, realizing the Hales weren't just cruel, they were dangerous. By Monday morning, the internet had already decided who Lily Carter was. Hashtags filled Twitter. Crazy Nurse Lily, Gold Digger Wife, Hale Scandal. The first post came from a gossip account with 500,000 followers. A grainy photo showed Lily outside the hospital, her hand on her belly, eyes red. The caption read, Unstable nurse breaks down after being fired. Sources say her husband's family finally exposed her lies. Within hours, her inbox filled with hateful messages. People she didn't even know called her a thief, a homewrecker, a fraud. Her hospital supervisors started getting calls asking why they hired someone like her. The chief nurse sent an email. We'll need to discuss your public behavior. Please report tomorrow morning. Lily sat on the edge of her bed, the glow of her cracked iPhone screen lighting her face. Her fingers shook as she scrolled through comments. She looks insane. Pregnant and still chasing money. That's what happens when you marry up. Each word sliced deeper than the last. In another part of Manhattan, Sloan Pierce was sipping a macchiato at a Fifth Avenue cafe, her manicured fingers scrolling through her phone with satisfaction. She smiled as she saw the numbers climb. Viral meant visibility, and visibility meant leverage. She'd built her career on scandal, but this was art. Across from her, Tori Hale adjusted her Cartier bracelet, trying to hide her nerves. Are you sure this won't blow back on us? She whispered. Sloan smirked. Sweetheart, by the time it does, the internet will be bored and looking for another villain. Back in Brooklyn, Lily's apartment felt colder than usual. She tried to focus on work, on her next shift at New York Presbyterian. She opened her laptop, ready to finish charting patient notes, but her email pinged again, another anonymous message. This one was worse. Attached was a screenshot of a fake invoice, implying she'd stolen hospital funds. The subject line read, Return what you took. Lily pressed her palms to her temples, breathing hard. They're trying to destroy me, she whispered. She stood up, pacing the room. The kettle whistled on the stove, ignored until the steam clouded the window. She grabbed her phone and, before she could stop herself, called Cole. He answered after the fourth ring. What do you want? Did you know about this? She demanded. The posts, the pictures, they're everywhere. My job's on the line. Cole sighed. Lily, you're overreacting. Overreacting? Her voice cracked. They're lying about me. I could lose everything. I told you to sign the NDA, he said coolly. You brought this on yourself. Lily froze. Her grip on the phone loosened. You did this, she whispered, you and your mother. Don't call me again, Cole said and hung up. The line went dead. Lily sank to the floor, knees folding beneath her. The only sound in the room was the kettle still screaming in the background. Across town, Noah Prescott leaned over his desk, multiple screens glowing blue in the dark. His company specialized in cybersecurity, and he'd seen thousands of smear campaigns before. But this was different. Every post about Lily had the same metadata pattern, the same cluster of bots amplifying them. He typed a message to Elias. It's orchestrated. Hail PR bots, 100%. I'm shutting it down quietly, Elias replied instantly. Do it fast, she's at her breaking point. That night, Lily sat in her bathtub, the water long gone cold. Her phone buzzed again. She almost ignored it until she saw the sender. Noah Prescott. Don't respond to anything, we're cleaning the internet. Trust me. For a long moment she just stared at the message, unsure if it was real or another trick. Then, for the first time in days, she exhaled, and just as she began to calm, her apartment lights flickered, then went out completely, leaving her in darkness. The power outage hit just after midnight. The only light left in Lily Carter's apartment came from the city outside. Neon signs and the faint red glow of brake lights reflecting off her window. She sat motionless on the couch, wrapped in a blanket, staring at her dead phone. The silence was heavy except for the distant hum of traffic. Then came a knock. 3 slow, deliberate taps. Her heart jumped. She hesitated, clutching the edge of the blanket tighter. Nobody came to her apartment at this hour. Lily, a calm voice called through the door. It's Noah Prescott. Elias sent me. She froze. The name felt unreal in this tiny, dim apartment. Noah Prescott, one of the most powerful men in New York's tech world, founder of ApexNet, billionaire and younger brother to Elias. His name alone made boardrooms go silent. And now he was standing outside her door. Lily opened the latch, leaving the chain on. How do I know it's really you? She asked, her voice shaking slightly. He held up his phone. The screen glowed, showing a message thread from Elias. Noah, she's fragile. Handle it gently. She exhaled, then unhooked the chain. Noah stepped inside. He carried a small flashlight and a portable power bank in one hand and a paper bag from Starbucks in the other. His coat was still wet from the snow, but his expression was steady, controlled, like someone who solved problems for a living. I figured you hadn't eaten, he said simply, setting the bag on the table. And your building's grid just tripped. Half of Brooklyn's out. Lily blinked at him. You came all the way here? He shrugged. You didn't answer my messages. I don't like being ignored. She gave a tired laugh. You sound like your brother. I'll take that as a compliment, he said, then handed her a hot cup of coffee. Caramel macchiato, extra foam. It's what my mother used to order when she couldn't sleep. Lily took the cup, the warmth seeping into her frozen hands. You didn't have to do this. I know, Noah said, but I did. He sat across from her, pulling his MacBook Pro from his bag. Listen carefully. What happened to you online? It wasn't random. We traced over 400 fake accounts posting within the same minute, all tied to a PR firm that works exclusively with the Hales. Lily's grip tightened on the coffee cup. They're destroying me. Noah met her eyes. They're trying, but they made one mistake. They left digital fingerprints, and that's my world. He turned the laptop toward her. Graphs and coded lines filled the screen. We're taking it all down. Every post, every fake article. By morning, their network will be silent. Lily watched the numbers flash across the display, disbelief and relief mixing in her chest. Why are you helping me? He looked at her for a moment before answering. Because my father used to say the world doesn't need more rich men. It needs decent ones. And because my brother thinks I'm cold, maybe I want to prove him wrong. The faintest smile tugged at her lips. They sat in silence for a while, the only sound the faint hum of his laptop fan. Outside, the snow was falling harder now, muffling the world. Finally, Noah spoke again. When this is over, you'll have 2 choices. You can disappear quietly, or you can stand up and make them regret ever touching your name. But you can't do both. Lily stared at the city lights flickering through the window. Her reflection looked different now. Tired, yes, but not broken. I'll stand, she said softly. I have to. Noah nodded, closing his laptop. Then I'll make sure you're not standing alone. He rose to leave, stopping by the door. Power should be back in an hour. Try to sleep if you can. Lily's voice stopped him. Noah? He turned. Thank you. He gave a small, genuine smile, the kind that didn't need words. Then he was gone. And when the lights finally flickered back on, Lily noticed a sleek silver flash drive left on her table, with her name written in his handwriting. The next morning, sunlight seeped weakly through the blinds of Lily Carter's small apartment. She hadn't slept. The flash drive Noah Prescott left on her table gleamed in the morning light like something alive, pulsing with quiet promise or danger. She stared at it for an hour before touching it. What if it was something she shouldn't see? What if opening it dragged her deeper into a world she didn't understand? Finally, she exhaled and plugged it into her laptop. The folder opened with a single click. Inside were dozens of documents, labeled with dates and account numbers. Then, at the bottom, one video file stood alone. Charity Transfer 11-17. Lily hesitated, then pressed play. The video was surveillance footage, grainy but clear enough. She saw a luxurious office with Hale Foundation's logo on the wall. Cole was there, in his gray tailored suit, sitting across from Victor Hale and a third man she didn't recognize. Stacks of checks and documents covered the desk. Cole's voice filled the tiny apartment. "We move the funds to the wellness subsidiary by Friday. After that, we'll dissolve the branch. No one will question it. It's under mental health donations." Victor nodded. "And the hospital connection?" Cole smirked. "Handled. I married a nurse, remember? Optics are perfect." Lily froze. The blood drained from her face. They hadn't married for love. They'd married her for cover. The realization hit her like a wave. Every cold dinner, every time Cole dodged intimacy, every moment she felt out of place at those charity events. She'd been used from the very beginning. Her stomach churned. She reached for her phone but stopped. Who would she even call? The police? The hospital board? Margaret Hale had friends everywhere. A knock interrupted her spiral. 3 quick raps on the door. "Lily, it's Elias," came the familiar steady voice. She opened it cautiously. Elias Prescott stood there in a crisp black coat, holding a manila envelope. His expression was unreadable, but his eyes softened when he saw her face. "You saw it," he said quietly. She nodded. "It's real, isn't it?" "Yes," Elias said, stepping inside. "The Hale Foundation is a front. The money that should go to patients, to hospitals, it's all being funneled offshore. That video is just the beginning, and your husband signed most of the papers." Lily's throat tightened. "He used me. My name, my job." Elias placed the envelope on the table, "Which means you're the only person who can testify that you didn't know. Without you, the Hales will spin the story their way. You're their scapegoat." She looked up sharply. "Testify? You want me to go public?" "I want you to decide what justice means for you," Elias replied. "But remember, silence protects them, not you." Lily walked to the window, staring at the skyline beyond the bridge. "If I fight them, they'll bury me." Elias stepped closer. "Not if we bury the truth first." She turned, confusion flashing in her eyes. He smirked faintly. "It's a legal phrase. It means, secure it before they can rewrite it." Despite herself, she almost smiled. "You really are a lawyer." He nodded. "And you, Miss Carter, are about to become the key witness in a multi-million-dollar fraud case. But before we go there, Noah wanted me to give you this." He handed her a small note, written in neat handwriting. "We'll take back what they stole from you. Your name, your peace, your power." Lily held the note, her fingers trembling. "I don't know if I can do this." Elias's voice was low, steady. "Then let me carry the law, and you carry the truth. Together, they're unstoppable." For a moment, the room was silent except for the faint hum of the city. Then Lily closed the laptop, pocketed the flash drive, and said, "Let's start." Elias gave a small nod, a flicker of respect passing between them. Neither of them noticed the black SUV parked across the street, with a telephoto lens aimed directly at Lily's window. By the time the sun dipped behind the Manhattan skyline, Lily Carter's apartment was quiet again, too quiet. The flash drive was hidden under a floorboard near her bed, the documents sealed in a waterproof bag like something sacred. Elias had left hours ago, promising to tighten the net around the Hale family. But silence had its own kind of weight, and tonight it pressed heavy against her chest. Her phone buzzed. The caller ID read, "Aunt May, Ohio." For a long moment, Lily just stared at the screen. Then she answered, "Lily? Honey?" Her aunt's voice trembled through the speaker, full of worry and warmth. "I saw the news. They're saying awful things about you. Please tell me it isn't true." Lily leaned her head against the wall, eyes closed. "It's not. But it doesn't matter, Aunt May. The truth doesn't go viral." Her aunt sighed. "Oh, sweetheart, your mama would have told you to come home. There's nothing for you in that city but pain." Lily's throat tightened. I can't, Aunt May. Not yet. Why? Because running away would make them right. The silence that followed was thick with love and fear. Her aunt finally spoke again, softer this time. Your mama was just like you, too brave for her own good. You know what she told me once? If I ever fall, I want my daughter to see me getting up, not giving up. Tears burned behind Lily's eyes. I remember, she whispered. Then promise me one thing, Lily. Whatever happens, don't let those people turn you cold. You hear me? Don't become them. I promise, Lily said. Her voice cracked, but she meant it. When the call ended, she stood by the window, watching the lights flicker on across Brooklyn. Her reflection looked fragile, thin shoulders, tired eyes, but there was a steadiness there too, a quiet resolve. On the table lay a small Amazon box she hadn't opened yet. She tore the tape carefully. Inside were the things she'd ordered days ago, a bottle of prenatal vitamins, a soft baby blanket, and the book Atomic Habits. She smiled faintly. Tiny steps, she murmured. Her phone buzzed again, this time with a text from Noah Prescott. We're moving. Graham's setting up an internal audit trap for Victor Hale. You'll hear things soon. Don't panic. She typed back. What kind of trap? He replied instantly. One that catches liars. Lily set the phone down, her pulse quickening. Somewhere between fear and courage, she found herself opening her laptop and writing everything she remembered. Every dinner, every whispered conversation, every detail of the Hale Foundation's charity events. The smell of expensive perfume, the envelopes passed under tables, the look in Victor's eyes when he spoke about projects overseas. Hours passed. When she finally stopped typing, the document was 10 pages long. She emailed it to Elias with a single line, if I disappear, this tells my side. Outside, sirens echoed faintly. She thought of the hospital, of her patients, of the quiet hum of monitors in the ER. She missed that kind of noise, the sound of purpose. Her phone rang again. This time it wasn't her aunt or Noah. It was an unknown number. Miss Carter, a woman's voice said, cool and professional. This is Jennifer Ross from Hale Holdings. Mr. Victor Hale would like to offer you a private settlement. No press, no lawyers, just a clean end. Interested? Lily's stomach twisted. No, she said flatly. Tell him I'm not for sale. The woman paused. You might want to reconsider. The people you're trusting, they won't protect you forever. Click. The line went dead. Lily dropped the phone on the table, her hands trembling. Then she whispered to herself, they don't scare me anymore. For the first time she believed it. And as she looked back out the window, she didn't see the black car parked across the street, or the camera that caught every word she just said. The rain that night didn't fall, it slammed. The streets of Brooklyn glistened with water and headlights, wind slicing through alleys like knives. At New York Presbyterian's emergency entrance, chaos ruled. Flooded roads meant more accidents, and the ER was drowning in patients. Lily Carter tied her hair back, pulling on gloves as another stretcher rolled in. She'd begged to work tonight, needing the distraction, needing to remind herself that she still mattered somewhere. The world could call her names, but here, under fluorescent lights with the smell of antiseptic and adrenaline, she was still Nurse Carter. 10-year-old male, the paramedic shouted over the noise. Respiratory distress, no pulse for 20 seconds before arrival. Room 3, Lily yelled, her voice clear, commanding. She moved fast, her body remembering every instinct her mind had forgotten how to trust. Oxygen, suction, monitor. The boy's lips were blue. His mother sobbed in the hallway. Please, save him. Ma'am, I need you to step back, Lily said firmly but gently. She pressed 2 fingers to the boy's neck, felt nothing. Then she began chest compressions, counting softly. 1, 2, 3. Minutes felt like hours. The crash cart beeped. The monitor screamed. A doctor called for a dose of epinephrine, but it was Lily's steady rhythm that anchored the room. Sweat dripped down her temple. Her arms ached, but she didn't stop. Come on, kid, she whispered under her breath. Don't quit on me. Then a sound, the faintest blip on the monitor. 1 heartbeat, then another. He's back, someone shouted. Lily exhaled, relief flooding her so fast it hurt. She pulled off her gloves, wiped her face, and stepped aside as the boy was stabilized. The mother rushed in, grabbing Lily's hands. You saved him, she sobbed. Lily smiled weakly. He saved himself. I just reminded him how. Hours later, when the ER quieted and the storm outside softened to a steady drizzle, Lily sat in the staff lounge, sipping lukewarm coffee. Her scrubs were damp, her hair a mess, but her soul felt cleaner. For the first time in weeks, she'd done something no rumor could undo. Her phone buzzed. A message from Elias. Auditors confirmed Hale Foundation discrepancies. Victor's panicking. Graham's in contact with their CFO. Then another from Noah. You made the news again. But this time, for the right reason. Confused, she opened the link. It was a local news headline. Nurse Carter saves boy during Brooklyn storm. The same internet that had shredded her reputation now flooded with praise. Photos of her in the ER circulated, tired but calm, eyes focused, hands steady. Lily read the comments slowly, heart pounding. That's the nurse they were lying about? She's a hero. Guess money can't buy what she's got, heart. Redemption hits different when it's real. For the first time, the world was seeing her for who she truly was. In the corner of the lounge, a TV flickered to life. A reporter's voice cut through the static. The Hale family declined to comment on allegations surrounding their charity. Sources say an internal whistleblower may have come forward. Lily froze. She knew who the whistleblower was. Outside the hospital, a familiar black Mercedes idled at the curb. The driver stepped out, holding an umbrella. Noah Prescott. He caught her eye through the glass doors and gave a small nod. Not a smile, something stronger, quieter. A promise. She hesitated, then walked outside. The rain misted between them like a veil. You shouldn't be here, she said. I wanted to see the woman who just saved a life while the people trying to ruin her are falling apart. She looked down, half laughing, half crying. You make it sound dramatic. It is dramatic, he said softly, but it's also real, and that's rarer than money. For a long moment, neither spoke. The storm had weakened, but thunder still grumbled in the distance. Then Noah's voice dropped. Lily, what's coming next won't be easy. We're cornering them. And when people like the Hales are cornered, they bite. Lily met his gaze, steady now. Then I guess it's time to bite back. And in that moment, under the gray Brooklyn sky, she stopped being a victim and became the storm. The following week, Manhattan woke beneath a golden haze. On the top floor of the Prescott Capitol building, the air smelled like polished oak and high stakes. Graham Prescott stood before a wall of glass, staring out at the skyline that had built him, and that he had learned to outplay. He wasn't the loudest of the three brothers. He was the strategist, the one who played chess while everyone else played checkers. And right now, the Hale family had walked straight into his board. A soft chime sounded. Mr. Prescott? His assistant said, stepping in. Victor Hale is here. Graham straightened his cufflinks, Mont Blanc black and silver, and smiled. Send him in. Victor Hale entered, every step heavy with pride disguised as confidence. His suit was immaculate, but his eyes gave him away. Restless, calculating. You said you had an offer. Graham gestured toward the chair across from him. I do. Prescott Capital is willing to purchase Hale Holdings' debt portfolio. Discreetly. It'll give you liquidity before your audit results go public. Victor smirked. You know, Graham, I've always admired your family's ambition. But let's not pretend this is charity. What's your angle? Graham leaned forward, voice calm and surgical. My angle is timing. You sell us your debts now, and in return you submit to an independent financial audit run by my firm. Think of it as cleansing your books before the press gets wind of them. Victor's jaw tightened. And if I refuse? Graham smiled, the kind of smile that didn't reach his eyes. Then the Hale Foundation's accounts, specifically the ones labeled Mental Health Outreach, might appear in tomorrow's Wall Street Journal, along with signatures tying the transactions to your son, Cole. The room went silent. Victor's fingers gripped the edge of his chair. You're bluffing. Graham pressed a button on his phone. A holographic projection filled the space, a digital map of bank transfers, dates, and routing numbers. At the bottom, Cole's digital signature flickered like a confession. This is what bluffing looks like? Graham asked quietly. Victor swallowed hard. You think you can threaten me? I don't threaten, Graham said. I offer outcomes. This one saves your company and your reputation, for now. But if you make the wrong choice, everything collapses, including your son. Victor stared at him for a long moment, then exhaled, defeated. You'll have your audit. Good, Graham said, standing. My team will contact you by noon. And Victor? What? You might want to warn your wife. The press doesn't like hypocrites and pearls. Victor left without another word, his pride trailing behind him like smoke. When the door closed, Noah stepped out from the adjoining office, arms crossed. You enjoyed that way too much. Graham shrugged. Justice and satisfaction can coexist. Elias joined them, dropping a folder on the table. We'll have confirmation within 24 hours. Once the auditors start, the foundation's going to crumble. Noah leaned against the wall. What about Lily? Graham smiled faintly. She'll get her justice in the court of public opinion first. Tonight, actually. Noah frowned. What are you planning? Graham's eyes gleamed. You'll see. That evening, the ballroom at the plaza glittered beneath chandeliers. The city's elite gathered for a charity gala, ironically hosted by the Hale Foundation. Cameras flashed, champagne flowed, and the orchestra played as if nothing rotten was hiding under the gold. Margaret Hale stood near the center, smiling for photos, unaware that her empire was seconds from collapse. Across the room, a projector screen flickered to life unexpectedly. The room hushed. A video began to play, the same one Lily had watched in her apartment. Cole and Victor discussing fraudulent transfers, their voices echoing through the marble hall. Gasps erupted. Reporters scrambled for their phones. Margaret's smile faltered, her hand trembling against her clutch. In the chaos, Graham watched from the balcony, the glass of scotch in hand. Checkmate, he murmured. And at that exact moment, Lily Carter stepped through the ballroom doors, head high, eyes steady, as the world finally saw the truth. The chandeliers inside the plaza glittered like 1,000 watchful eyes. The air buzzed with perfume, money, and fear. The orchestra faltered mid-song as the video continued to play on the massive LED wall. Cole Hale's voice echoed through the grand ballroom, icy and damning. We'll move the funds by Friday. No one will question it. It's under mental health donations. Then Victor's voice followed. And the hospital connection? Cole smirked on screen. Handled. I married a nurse, remember? The room froze. The sound of champagne glasses shattering cut through the silence. The whispers came next, rippling through the crowd like wildfire. Oh my God, did he just... Is that the wife they humiliated? Lily Carter, the nurse. She's here. All heads turned toward the grand entrance. Lily stood at the top of the staircase, the soft golden light framing her like a painting. She wore a simple black gown borrowed from a coworker, nothing flashy but elegant in its honesty. Her hair was pinned loosely, her face calm, but her eyes held fire. Margaret Hale turned pale, clutching her pearls as though they could protect her. You don't belong here, she hissed across the distance. Lily descended one step at a time, her heels clicking against marble. Funny, she said, her voice clear and steady. You said the same thing when you stripped me of my dignity. I guess we both underestimated what belongs. Reporters swarmed like bees, flashes blinding, microphones thrust forward. Miss Carter, did you leak the video? Were you aware of your husband's fraud? Do you have a statement? Lily raised her hand, silencing the crowd with quiet authority. I have one thing to say, she began. I'm not here for revenge. I'm here because people like me, people who work hard, who believe in honesty, get crushed when powerful families decide they're disposable. But tonight isn't about power, it's about truth. A murmur rippled through the room. Margaret's voice cracked as she shouted, This is defamation. Arrest her. Elias Prescott, standing near the edge of the crowd, spoke for the first time. Actually, Mrs. Hale, it's called evidence. He lifted a legal folder, and it's already been submitted to the SEC and the state attorney's office. Victor spun toward him, rage twisting his face. You think you can destroy us? Graham appeared beside his brother, calm as ever. We didn't destroy you, you did. The cameras captured everything, the collapse of a dynasty in real time. Cole tried to leave, but reporters blocked his path. He turned toward Lily, desperation flickering behind his eyes. Lily, please, help me. Tell them I didn't mean for this to happen. She met his gaze for the first time in months. You meant every word, Cole. The only thing you didn't mean was your vows. A stunned silence followed. Even the orchestra had gone still. Then a single pair of hands began to clap. It was Noah Prescott, standing at the back of the room, eyes steady on her. The applause spread, slow but unstoppable, until the whole ballroom echoed with the sound. Lily didn't cry. She didn't smile. She simply stood there, letting the truth breathe. Margaret stumbled toward her, face twisted with fury. You'll regret this, she spat. Lily looked her dead in the eye. I already regretted staying silent. I'm done regretting. The cameras caught every word. The moment went viral before midnight. Hours later, as police escorted Victor and Cole Hale out of the plaza in handcuffs, Lily stood on the balcony overlooking Fifth Avenue. The city lights shimmered below like forgiveness. Noah approached quietly, holding 2 cups of coffee. "You did it," he said softly. "No," she replied, taking the cup. "The truth did." And as the flashbulbs below captured the fall of the Hales, Lily Carter became something the city hadn't seen in years, a symbol of dignity that couldn't be bought or broken. The following evening, the plaza's scandal still flooded every channel. Talk shows, morning news, Twitter, everywhere. The same clip played again and again. Cole Hale's smirk. Victor's confession, Lily Carter's calm defiance. The city had already chosen its side, and for once, the truth was trending. But the storm wasn't over. By Friday night, the New York Health Alliance hosted its annual recognition gala, a high-profile event honoring healthcare workers. Lily didn't plan to attend. She hated cameras now. Yet an anonymous envelope arrived at her apartment that morning, sealed with a single silver emblem. Prescott Capital. Inside was an invitation card and a handwritten note from Elias. "You deserve the mic tonight. Don't let them write your ending." Lily stared at it for a long time before whispering to herself, "One last time." The ballroom at the Park Hyatt glittered with chandeliers and whispers. Guests murmured about the Hale scandal, champagne glasses trembling with curiosity. The presiding host, a famous journalist, smiled into the microphone. "Before we close tonight's program, we have a special address from a woman who reminded New York what integrity looks like." The room turned. Lily Carter walked in, wearing a midnight blue dress that fit like quiet confidence. No designer logos, no diamonds, just elegance that came from peace. The crowd parted as she climbed the stage. Her hands trembled as she took the microphone. Cameras flashed again, but this time she didn't flinch. "Good evening," she began softly. "I wasn't supposed to be here. A few months ago, I was just a nurse who believed hard work was enough to earn respect. Then I learned how cruel power can be." The room went silent. I was humiliated, lied about, and left with nothing. But I learned something valuable in the dark. You can strip a woman of everything she owns, but not of what she is. Applause started softly, hesitant, but grew louder as she continued. "I've seen how easily money hides the truth. But I've also seen something stronger. Ordinary people who care. Nurses, doctors, patients. People who show up every day because they believe kindness still matters. They reminded me that we can be broken and still be good." Her voice shook slightly as she looked across the crowd. "If anyone here has ever been silenced, bullied, betrayed, or made to feel small, remember this. The moment you speak, you take your power back, and no one can ever steal it again." The applause rose, filling the ballroom with thunder. People stood, tears in their eyes. But one face in the crowd didn't clap. Margaret Hale. She'd slipped in quietly, wrapped in black, her once perfect poise cracked by exhaustion and disgrace. When the applause subsided, Margaret's voice rang out, sharp and trembling. "You ruined us. You think this is victory? You destroyed my family's name." Lily turned slowly, the microphone still in her hand. "No, Margaret," she said gently. "Your family destroyed itself the day it thought money was more valuable than decency." A hush swept through the room. Margaret's face twisted with fury before she turned and stormed out, chased by flashes from photographers. Lily took a breath, grounding herself in the silence that followed. "Forgiveness isn't weakness," she said. "But sometimes the most merciful thing you can do is stop letting someone hurt you." From the front row, Noah Prescott stood, leading the ovation that followed. This time, the applause was deafening. Reporters rushed to the stage, microphones outstretched, but Lily only smiled and said, "No more statements. The truth speaks for itself." She stepped off the stage, shoulders straight, heart lighter than it had been in years. Elias met her at the exit, holding a thin folder. "You're free," he said. "The court filed charges against Victor and Cole this morning. You're officially cleared." She smiled softly. "Then it's over." "Not over," Elias said, "just beginning." And as Lily walked out into the night air of Manhattan, camera flashes behind her, freedom ahead, she realized she hadn't been reborn tonight. She'd simply remembered who she was all along. The morning after Lily Carter's speech, New York City was still talking. Her face was everywhere, from talk shows to TikTok clips. The nurse who fought back became a headline that refused to die. Hashtags like #LilySpeaks and Justice for the Nurse trended for days. But deep in the Hale mansion, now surrounded by reporters and flashing cameras, the atmosphere had turned toxic. Victor Hale sat in his office, his phone pressed to his ear, barking orders that no one dared follow. Margaret sat in silence by the window, staring at the garden that once hosted her high society luncheons. "She humiliated us," Victor spat. "That woman destroyed decades of legacy in one night." "She told the truth," Margaret muttered bitterly. Victor slammed his hand on the desk. "Truth is what the public believes. We'll give them a new one." From the corner, Sloane Pierce stepped forward, her designer heels clicking against the marble. Her hair was shorter now, sharper, like her tone. "You want to fight fire with fire? I can make that happen, but it won't be clean." Margaret looked up sharply. "You betrayed us once already. Why would we trust you now?" Sloane smirked. "Because you don't have anyone else left. Cole's facing charges, your husband's one step from indictment, and your PR team quit this morning. You need someone who still knows how to play dirty." Victor's eyes narrowed. "What are you offering?" Sloane dropped a folder on the table. Inside were printed screenshots of private hospital records and old emails. Real or fabricated, no one could tell. If the world thinks Lily Carter manipulated medical data or leaked patient info, her halo cracks. No one forgives a hero who breaks trust. Margaret's lips curved into something almost like a smile. "Make it happen." Across town, in the Prescott Capital offices, Elias, Noah, and Graham gathered around a conference table covered in folders, coffee cups, and exhaustion. Lily sat quietly beside them, her hands folded, the weight of new threats pressing against her calm. Noah tossed his phone onto the table. "They're starting to leak fake hospital files. A few blogs are already running the story." Graham frowned. "They're desperate. That's sloppy." Lily's voice broke the silence. "But it could still work. I've seen how fast lies travel." Elias leaned forward. "Not if we get ahead of it. I've already contacted the hospital's legal department. They'll verify every file. Meanwhile, Graham's team will trace whoever's uploading the documents. My guess, it's Sloane Pierce." Lily's heart sank. "Sloane. She used to be my friend. She knew everything." Noah's gaze softened. "Then she knows your strength too." Graham's phone buzzed. He checked it, his face hardening. Victor just transferred $5 million to a Cayman account linked to a PR firm. "They're going nuclear." Elias looked at Lily. "They're trying to make you crumble. Don't let them." Lily nodded slowly. "I won't. They took my silence before. They won't take my truth." That night she returned to her apartment. The city outside buzzed with headlines, the hum of traffic blending with the whisper of rain. She sat by the window, watching raindrops slide down the glass, her reflection a mix of fear and defiance. Her phone buzzed again, an unknown number. She hesitated, then answered. "Lily Carter?" "Yes. This is Detective Ramos, Financial Crimes Division. I thought you should know. Victor Hale's been making calls to a fixer in Jersey. They're planning something. Keep your doors locked and don't go anywhere alone." Her chest tightened. "Thank you, Detective." After the call, she grabbed the silver flash drive Noah had given her weeks ago. She slipped it into her pocket like armor. A soft knock startled her. She froze, then relaxed when a familiar voice said, "It's Noah." When she opened the door, he stood there drenched from the rain, holding a manila envelope. "We traced their PR leaks. Sloane's behind all of it. But there's something else." He handed her the envelope. Inside was a single printed email chain, Sloane corresponding with a journalist. Lily read the final line aloud. "The goal is to bury her before she gives birth." Her hands shook. "They're going after my baby now." Noah's jaw tightened. Then they just made it personal. And as thunder cracked outside, the two of them knew. The Hales' counterattack had begun, but this time, Lily wouldn't be the one bleeding. Rain hammered against the windows of the Prescott Capitol building as midnight crept over Manhattan. Inside the glass-walled conference room, the tension was so thick it seemed to hum. Elias Prescott sat at the head of the table, papers spread before him like battle plans. Noah leaned against the wall, silent and furious. Graham stood near the window, phone in hand, eyes locked on the storm outside. Then the elevator dinged. Elias looked up. "She's here." The glass doors slid open, revealing Sloane Pierce. Her usual armor of elegance was gone. the sleek blowout replaced by damp, frizzed hair and her perfect eyeliner smudged by rain. She looked like someone who'd run out of lies. Or maybe just out of energy to tell them. Noah's jaw tightened. "You've got 5 minutes." Sloane dropped her phone and a manila folder on the table. "You don't understand. Victor's losing control. He's trying to take me down with him." Lily, sitting quietly at the far end of the table, finally looked up. Her voice was calm but sharp enough to cut glass. "You started this, Sloane. You leaked those files. You ruined my name." Sloane swallowed hard. "I know. And I can't undo that. But I can give you something that ends it." Elias gestured toward the folder. "What's that?" "Emails," Sloane said. "Bank records. Proof that Victor bribed a state auditor. He was paying to bury investigations. I saved everything before he locked me out." Graham's expression didn't change, but his tone was low and dangerous. "Why are you bringing this to us now?" Sloane laughed bitterly. "Because when sharks smell blood, they eat their own. He froze my accounts, sent people to follow me. I'm not loyal, I'm terrified." Lily stood, walking toward her slowly. "You helped them humiliate me. You called me unstable, a liar, a fraud. Why should I believe you?" Sloane met her eyes for the first time. "Because I watched them do the same thing to other women, and none of them survived it." "You did." The room fell silent. Rain beat harder against the glass, thunder rolling over the city. Elias opened the folder, scanning quickly. "These are solid. Transaction IDs, routing numbers, even timestamps." He looked up at Graham. "This is enough to bury the Hales for good." Sloane nodded. "Then promise me protection. Witness immunity. I'll testify." Graham crossed his arms. "You don't get protection. You get cooperation. If you testify truthfully, maybe we'll talk about mercy." Sloane's voice cracked. "I'll take that." Lily studied her, this woman who once smiled while ruining her life. And now she looked so small, so human, trembling under the fluorescent lights. "Why did you hate me so much?" Lily asked quietly. Sloane blinked. "Because you were everything I pretended to be. Kind, real, and cold. He used both of us. But I hated you because you reminded me what I'd lost trying to be like them." Lily's eyes softened, but her voice didn't. "Then help me make sure no one else loses themselves like that." Sloane nodded, tears mixing with rain on her cheeks. "I will." Elias closed the folder, standing. "We'll meet with the federal investigators at 9 tomorrow. Sloane, you're coming with us. If you run, it's over." Sloane straightened, fragile but resolute. "I'm done running." Noah finally spoke, his voice low. "You better be, because the moment you lie again, I'll make sure your name burns with theirs." Sloane met his gaze and whispered, "Fair." The storm outside cracked, lightning flashing over the skyline. Lily walked to the window, watching the city lights flicker. For the first time, she didn't feel small against them. She turned to the room. "Tomorrow, we finish this." Elias nodded. "Tomorrow, the truth goes to court." And as the thunder rolled, Lily didn't realize someone else was listening. The Hale family's last ally, recording every word from a hidden line. The next morning, the sky over Manhattan was washed in pale gold, the storm clouds finally retreating. Lily Carter woke before dawn, unable to shake the feeling that something was about to shift, something final. She made herself a cup of coffee, wrapped her cardigan tight, and stared out the window at the city that had once broken her and now seemed to hold its breath for her next move. Her phone buzzed. A message from Elias. "Meeting at Prescott Tower, 9 a.m. Bring the flash drive. We're closing the loop." She placed her hand over her stomach. "Almost there, baby," she whispered. By 8:30, she was in the sleek marble lobby of Prescott Tower. The air smelled faintly of cedar and power. Security guards nodded as she passed. Her name carried weight now. She stepped into the conference room, where the 3 Prescott brothers waited. Graham looked sharp as ever in a navy suit. Noah had dark circles under his eyes from another sleepless night of tracking the Hales' data, and Elias stood beside a pile of files thick enough to crush a man's career. "Morning," Lily said softly. Elias smiled faintly. "Morning, Miss Carter. Ready to end this?" She nodded, placing the flash drive on the table. "Everything you asked for and something else." She slid out a folded piece of paper, worn around the edges. Graham raised an eyebrow. "What's that?" Lily hesitated. "A letter. From your father. My mother gave it to me before she died. She said to deliver it only when the Prescott name crossed paths with mine again." Noah frowned, confused. "Our father wrote your mother?" She nodded. After the accident on FDR Drive, the one where she saved him, he was unconscious for 2 days. When he woke up, he sent her this letter. She never opened it, said it wasn't hers to read. Elias took the envelope gently, sliding a letter opener through the seal. Inside, written in elegant penmanship, were the words that would tie their families together forever. To Nurse Margaret Carter. If you're reading this, I've survived. You pulled me from the wreckage when no one else dared. You gave me my sons back. And if ever the day comes when someone bearing your name needs help, I ask my sons to remember this moment and pay that debt. Not in money, but in honor. Silence filled the room. The brothers exchanged looks, emotion breaking through their composure. Graham spoke first. He wrote this when we were teenagers. Elias folded the letter carefully. And we almost didn't deserve to read it. Lily blinked back tears. He already gave me what I needed. You all did. You gave me back my name. Noah leaned forward, his voice quiet but sincere. We didn't do this out of debt, Lily. We did it because you reminded us what our father stood for. Integrity, not empire. She smiled weakly. He'd be proud. Graham cleared his throat, breaking the heavy silence. All right, sentiment later. We have an appointment with the federal investigators in an hour. Once this is over, the Hales will be facing indictments, asset seizures, and enough press to bury their reputation permanently. Elias gathered the folders, tucking the letter carefully inside one. We'll make sure this stays on record. The truth deserves documentation. Lily exhaled slowly. Then let's finish it. But before they could leave, Noah's phone buzzed. He answered, listened for a few seconds, and his face went pale. He turned to them, voice sharp. Victor Hale's gone. His driver found the car abandoned near the Hudson. Lily froze. Gone? As in? Vanished, Noah said grimly. And that's not all. Someone hacked our internal network last night. The Hale accounts are empty. Graham's jaw tightened. They're running. Elias looked at Lily. This isn't over yet. She felt her heart race, but her voice didn't shake. Then we find him. And as she spoke, a courier entered the room, handing Elias another sealed envelope. The return label read, Victor Hale, Personal. The following week, the world watched as State of New York v. Victor Hale et al. Began inside the towering glass courthouse on Center Street. Cameras lined the steps, journalists shouted questions, and protesters waved handmade signs that read, Justice for Lily Carter, and no one above the law. Inside, the courtroom buzzed with anticipation. Victor Hale sat at the defense table, pale and furious, his once impeccable suit hanging loosely on his shoulders. Margaret sat beside him wearing black like a widow, though her husband was very much alive and fuming. Across the aisle, Cole stared at the floor, avoiding Lily's eyes entirely. Lily sat behind the prosecution, flanked by Elias and Noah Prescott. She wore a simple navy dress and a thin silver bracelet, her mother's. She wasn't here for revenge. She was here for truth. The judge entered, robes flowing, voice echoing, all rise. When the trial began, the prosecution laid out the case with surgical precision. Emails, wire transfers, fake charitable reports, all displayed on giant monitors for the jury to see. Each piece of evidence felt like a nail in the Hale's golden coffin. Then came the footage. The video Lily had watched in her apartment, showing Cole bragging about using his wife as cover for fraud. Gasps rippled through the courtroom. Victor's lawyer stood quickly. Objection! This recording was obtained illegally. Elias rose from his chair, his tone smooth and unshakable. Actually, Your Honor, the footage came from Hale Foundation's own internal security cameras, obtained through a lawful subpoena. The truth is inconvenient, not illegal. The judge nodded. Overruled. Margaret's face drained of color. Cole buried his head in his hands. Next came the witnesses, accountants, secretaries, even former board members, all confirming the same story. The Hale Foundation was a front for embezzlement and tax evasion. Finally, the prosecutor called Lily Carter to the stand. The room fell silent. Elias whispered as she passed, "Tell them exactly what happened. Nothing more, nothing less." Lily took the oath, her voice steady. "Mrs. Carter," the prosecutor began gently, "when did you first realize something was wrong?" "The night my husband's family humiliated me," she said clearly. "They called it punishment for disobedience. But what they were really doing was destroying a witness. They didn't want me to see what they were hiding." "Did you know about the fraudulent transfers?" "No, I was never part of their foundation's business. They used my name and profession to make it look legitimate." And when you discovered the truth? She looked directly at Victor. I brought it into the light. Victor slammed his fist on the table. You ungrateful. Mr. Hale, the judge snapped. One more outburst and I'll hold you in contempt. Lily didn't flinch. She simply said, that's who they are. Power without conscience. When she stepped down, the jury couldn't take their eyes off her. During cross-examination, Victor's lawyer tried to paint her as vindictive, a scorned wife seeking fame. But Lily answered every question calmly, never raising her voice. At one point, the defense attorney sneered, so you expect us to believe you're some kind of hero? Lily replied quietly, no. I just stopped being afraid. The courtroom went still. Even the reporter in the back stopped typing. By afternoon, Sloane Pierce was called next. Her testimony confirmed every allegation: bribes, forged donations, threats. She ended by saying, I thought power protected me, but watching Lily proved it only protects truth. When the day ended, the courtroom doors opened to a sea of cameras. Reporters shouted her name, flashes blinding her. Noah appeared beside her, shielding her from the chaos. You did good, he said. It's not over, she whispered. Not yet. He handed her a small envelope. Maybe this helps. Inside was a photo. Victor Hale at an airport security checkpoint 2 days before the trial began. And for the first time, Lily realized the courtroom victory wasn't the end. It was the bait. The real fight was still coming. 2 days after Lily Carter's testimony shook the courtroom, a storm was brewing, not in the sky but in the headlines. Victor Hale missing, screamed every major news outlet. Hale Foundation under federal seizure, followed another. In a penthouse overlooking Central Park, Graham Prescott stood before a large digital screen, watching live feeds from airports, banks, and ports. His voice was calm but clipped. He's trying to flee the country. Cayman, maybe Zurich. The accounts were drained 3 days ago. He planned this before the trial even started. Elias sat nearby, scanning a set of legal briefs. Interpol's involved now. They'll find him. But if he gets out of U.S. jurisdiction, this case drags for years. Noah entered, phone pressed to his ear. FBI's tracing a private jet registered under an offshore shell. Departure windows in less than an hour. Lily stood by the window, one hand resting protectively over her belly. If he escapes, everything I went through means nothing, she said quietly. Noah turned to her. We won't let that happen. At the same moment, across the Hudson, Victor Hale sat in the back seat of a black SUV, eyes scanning the gray dawn as the car sped toward a private hangar. His face was ghostly in the rearview mirror, haunted by fury and regret. Margaret sat beside him, clutching a leather handbag like a lifeline. This is temporary, Victor muttered. We'll rebuild. Somewhere new. Margaret didn't answer. Her hands trembled. Victor, they have everything. The files, the videos. Our name is poison. He sneered. Names can be changed, power can't. But even as he said it, his phone buzzed with a single message from an unknown number. We found you. Don't run. He frowned, looking out the tinted window. A second later, the driver slammed the brakes. Blue and red lights exploded through the darkness. Federal agents surrounded the car. Victor Hale. A voice shouted through a megaphone. Step out of the vehicle with your hands up. Victor's eyes widened. No. No, Margaret whispered. It's over. By mid-morning, the story had broken worldwide. Hale family arrested at airport in dramatic dawn raid. Video footage showed Victor in handcuffs, Margaret crying silently beside him. The internet roared its satisfaction. At Prescott Tower, the mood was strangely quiet. Graham leaned back in his chair, exhaling slowly. It's done. The dynasty's finished. Elias closed his folder. Justice took its time, but it got there. Noah turned to Lily. You should rest now. The case is over. But Lily didn't move. Her gaze was fixed on the window, the Manhattan skyline glowing in the morning light. It's not just about them, she said softly. It's about every person they hurt and silenced. My mother used to say justice isn't when bad people fall. It's when good people rise. Noah watched her for a moment, something unreadable in his eyes. Then rise, Lily. You've earned it. Later that afternoon, Lily walked alone through Central Park. The air was cool, the trees bare but beautiful. Reporters still tried to follow her, but she ignored them. For the first time in months, she could hear her own heartbeat without fear. She sat on a bench, taking a small letter from her purse, one she hadn't opened until now. The envelope was old, the handwriting unmistakable. Victor Hale. Her fingers trembled as she unfolded the note. Lily, by the time you read this, the world will have already judged me. Maybe they're right, maybe not. But know this, every empire built on lies collapses eventually. You were just the one strong enough to light the match. Tears stung her eyes. She folded the letter back, letting out a shaky breath. Behind her, footsteps approached softly. Noah's voice broke the quiet. You okay? She nodded, wiping her cheeks. He was right about one thing. It had to end. Noah sat beside her, the city's hum stretching around them. It ended because you didn't break. For a long time, neither spoke. The breeze carried the scent of wet leaves and freedom, and as the sun broke through the clouds, Lily realized the Hale's empire hadn't just fallen, it had freed her to begin again. The courtroom victory should have been the end. But Lily Carter soon learned that endings in the real world were rarely clean. 3 weeks after Victor Hale's arrest, the city began to move on. The headlines shrank, reporters chased new scandals, and the world's attention drifted elsewhere. Yet for Lily, peace hadn't arrived. It just changed shape. She sat in a small conference room inside Elias Prescott's law office, sunlight streaming through floor-to-ceiling windows. The walls were lined with awards and degrees, symbols of battles won. But today, the war wasn't legal, it was personal. Elias entered, holding a thick folder. He looked serious, almost hesitant. You got an offer, he said. Lily frowned. From who? From Hale Holdings' new trustees, Elias replied. The board wants to settle privately, a financial payout. Substantial? How substantial? He opened the folder and turned it toward her. The number at the bottom was staggering. 7 figures followed by more zeros than she could count. Her stomach twisted. They want to buy my silence. Elias nodded slowly. If you accept, you agree never to discuss the case again. No interviews, no memoirs, no statements. They're terrified you'll become a public figure, and they're right to be. Lily stared at the papers. That amount of money could change everything. It could pay for her baby's future, secure a home, erase the financial wounds of the past. But the price was her voice. Noah walked in then, coffee in hand. He told you? Yes, she said softly. And what do you think? He leaned against the wall, studying her. I think they're hoping the same woman who once stayed quiet out of fear will do it again out of comfort. Her eyes met his. You think I should refuse? I think, he said gently, you already know what you're going to do. That evening, Lily went home to her apartment in Brooklyn, the one she'd almost lost, now freshly painted and alive with warmth. The baby's crib sat by the window, a small symbol of hope waiting to be filled. She brewed a cup of tea and opened her laptop, scrolling through her inbox. Hundreds of messages flooded it daily. Thank yous, confessions, stories from women across the country who'd watched her fight and found the courage to face their own. One message stopped her. It was from a nurse in Ohio. I was accused of stealing medication from my ward. I didn't, but no one believed me until I watched you stand in that courtroom. Thank you for reminding me that truth still matters. Lily stared at the screen, tears welling. She opened a new document and typed 3 words at the top. The price of silence. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard. Then she began to write, not for revenge, but for release. The next morning, she walked back into Elias's office, envelope in hand. He looked up from his desk. You've decided? Yes. She slid the unsigned settlement papers across the table. Tell them I'm not selling my silence. I'll take enough to cover my medical bills and my child's birth. The rest, keep it. Elias studied her for a long moment, pride flickering in his eyes. That's going to make headlines again. Then let it, Lily said. Maybe someone else will see it and stop being afraid too. Noah appeared in the doorway, arms crossed but smiling faintly. You know, refusing 7 figures is not how most people start their new life. She smiled. Most people didn't lose theirs on camera. Noah chuckled. Fair point. As she left the office, sunlight spilled through the glass, painting her in gold. Outside, the city hummed, a mix of chaos and rebirth. Her phone buzzed again. A message from an unknown number. You chose integrity over comfort. Your mother would have been proud. She smiled through tears. And as she stepped into the busy Manhattan street, she realized she hadn't refused their money. She'd bought her freedom instead. Spring arrived slowly that year, as if New York itself needed time to heal. The snow melted from the sidewalks, the air grew softer, and sunlight returned to the skyline like forgiveness. For Lily Carter, it marked the first season in years where her life wasn't defined by fear. She sat at a small table inside a quiet cafe on Fifth Avenue, sipping decaf coffee while scrolling through edits on her laptop. The screen glowed with the title of her new book, The Anatomy of Courage, A Nurse's Story of Truth. Every page was honest, raw, but not bitter. It wasn't about revenge or wealth. It was about reclaiming dignity in a world that profited from silence. Her words were already attracting attention. A publisher had called that morning offering a major deal, and an editor from the New York Times wanted to feature her in their Sunday column. The old Lily would have been nervous. This Lily smiled, closed her laptop, and simply whispered, "Mama, we made it." Outside, a black Mercedes S-Class pulled to the curb. Noah Prescott stepped out, dressed in his usual understated elegance, dark gray suit, crisp white shirt, no tie. He spotted her through the window and smiled, that quiet, restrained smile that always seemed to say more than words ever could. When he walked in, the barista nearly dropped her cup. People recognized him everywhere. Billionaire, tech visionary, man of mystery. But here, he was just Noah. "You're early," Lily teased. "Habit," he replied, sitting across from her. "My company runs on deadlines, not patience." She laughed softly. "How's the chaos at ApexNet?" "Under control, mostly, but I needed a break from algorithms and shareholders." He nodded toward her laptop. "Looks like you've been building something yourself." "It's my book," she said. "Elias said I should tell the story before someone else does. But I'm not writing about the Hales. I'm writing about what comes after." Noah leaned back, eyes warm. "That's exactly why people will read it." For a moment, they sat in comfortable silence, the hum of the city filtering through the glass. Finally, Lily asked, "How's Graham?" "Still terrifying bankers into doing the right thing," Noah said, smirking. "And Elias, he's lobbying for healthcare whistleblower protections. He said your case inspired the proposal." Lily blinked, touched. "He did that?" "He says it's called the Carter Clause. Has a nice ring, doesn't it?" She smiled, fighting tears. "It sounds unreal." "It's real," Noah said softly. "You made it real." Later that afternoon, they walked through Central Park. Cherry blossoms were beginning to bloom, pink petals drifting across the path like confetti from a quiet celebration. Children laughed in the distance. Life had moved on. But Lily hadn't been left behind this time. She stopped near the lake, watching the water ripple with light. "I used to come here on my breaks," she said, "back when I still thought being small kept you safe." "And now?" Noah asked. "Now I know small doesn't mean powerless," she said. "It just means quiet strength." He studied her for a long moment. "You know," he said carefully, "my father once told me some people enter your life as debts, others as lessons, and then there are the few who walk in and change your entire definition of grace." She turned to him, eyes glistening. "Which one am I?" "The last one," he said simply. They stood there in silence, the city around them pulsing with life. Then Lily reached into her bag and handed him a small wrapped box. "A thank you," she said. Inside was a simple silver pen, engraved with the words, "For writing the truth, no matter the cost." Noah smiled. "You know, most people would have given me stock options." She grinned. "You already have those." He laughed quietly, tucking the pen into his jacket pocket. As the wind lifted her hair, Lily looked up at the skyline that had once towered over her. Now it didn't feel so intimidating. It felt like possibility. And in that moment, surrounded by light, laughter, and the man who believed in her before the world did, Lily Carter realized this wasn't a comeback story anymore. It was the beginning of a legacy. The day of the sentencing was warm for early summer. Morning sunlight spilled across the marble steps of the Manhattan Federal Courthouse, where crowds had gathered one last time. Reporters lined the barricades, microphones raised like weapons, cameras glinting in the heat. It felt less like justice and more like history closing its final page. Lily Carter stood at the bottom of those steps, dressed simply in a cream blouse and gray skirt. Her hand rested protectively over her growing belly. 8 months now. She didn't plan to speak today. She only came to witness the ending of a chapter she'd fought too long to survive. Inside the courtroom, the atmosphere was electric. Victor Hale sat in his wheelchair, face ashen, the arrogance drained from his eyes. His wife, Margaret, looked smaller than ever, clutching a silk handkerchief that couldn't hide her shame. Cole sat 2 rows behind them, avoiding his father's glare. His plea bargain had reduced his sentence, but the price was permanent exile from the world he once worshipped. The judge adjusted his glasses and spoke in the calm, measured tone of finality. After reviewing all evidence, this court finds the defendants guilty on all counts: embezzlement, witness intimidation, and obstruction of justice. The sentence: 25 years federal, no parole for the principal offender. A ripple of gasps echoed across the room. Victor's jaw clenched. Margaret sobbed quietly. But Lily didn't move. She simply closed her eyes and exhaled, the kind of breath that releases years of weight. The judge's gavel struck once, sharp and echoing like thunder. Court adjourned. Elias Prescott turned to her, voice gentle. "It's done, Lily. They can't hurt you anymore." She nodded, her eyes glistening but steady. "I don't hate them," she said softly. "I just hope someday they understand what they tried to destroy." Noah stood beside her, silent but protective, as they walked out of the courtroom into the sunlight. Reporters surged forward instantly. "Miss Carter, do you have a statement? Will you forgive the Hales? What's next for you?" Lily paused at the top of the courthouse steps. The cameras flashed like lightning. For a moment, she thought of the woman she had been months ago. Trembling, humiliated, voiceless. Then she looked straight into the lenses and said, calm and clear, "Forgiveness isn't about forgetting what they did. It's about freeing myself from it. I've already moved on." The crowd fell silent. Even the reporters stopped shouting. She turned, descended the stairs slowly, and stepped into the black Mercedes waiting by the curb. Inside, Noah handed her a small folder. "What's this?" she asked. "Something I've been working on," he said. "A proposal to create a healthcare legal fund for whistleblowers, nurses, anyone silenced by power. We want to call it the Carter Foundation if you'll let us." Her breath caught. "You mean my name?" "Your courage," Noah corrected. "The world needs it." For a long moment she couldn't speak. Then she smiled through tears. "Then let's build it." That evening, Manhattan glowed under the orange blush of sunset. Lily walked through Central Park, the city alive around her. Street musicians, joggers, laughter in the distance. For once it wasn't noise, it was music. She found her favorite bench by the lake, the same spot where she had once sat broken, terrified and alone. Now she felt peace. She opened her purse and pulled out her mother's old stethoscope, its metal still cold against her skin. "You'd tell me to keep going," she whispered. "So I will." A soft wind brushed through her hair. Somewhere behind her she heard Noah's footsteps. "Thought I'd find you here," he said, sitting beside her. "You always do," she replied with a quiet laugh. He glanced at her stomach. "How's our little fighter?" "Strong," she said, smiling. "Like their mother." They sat together in silence as the city lights reflected off the water. When the first stars appeared, Lily looked up, her voice barely a whisper. "You know what the best part of all this is?" Noah turned to her. "What?" "That I survived without becoming them." He smiled. "No, Lily, you became something they never could." She tilted her head. "What's that?" "Free." And as the city hummed around them, as the wind danced across the lake and the world finally exhaled, Lily Carter closed her eyes and smiled, knowing that justice wasn't a sentence written in court. It was a life rebuilt in peace. So, that's how Lily's story ends. And if you're still here right now, my friend, it means something in her journey reached you too. Maybe not just as a story, but as a quiet reminder of your own strength. You see, healing doesn't always come from revenge or justice. It comes from acceptance, from choosing peace when the world gave you pain. Like Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." Lily learned that truth the hard way, and so do we. Sometimes standing up for yourself doesn't mean shouting louder. It means not letting bitterness define you. It means waking up one day and saying, "I survived, and I'm still kind." So if you're going through something heavy right now, remember this. You can rebuild, you can forgive, and you can still win, quietly, with grace. If Lily's story touched you, take a second to hit like, share this video with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to our channel. Because maybe, just maybe, your story of strength is the next one waiting to be told. Stay kind, stay strong. We're right here with you.